I'm going to tell you, folks, I don't ever intend to be in legal trouble, but if I were in legal trouble, I would show up at the front door of Sidney Powell with a blank check in my hand. Just tell me what you need, because as I watch her representation of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, it is simply extraordinary. I want to tell you one thing she did, just a out of the box move, a brilliant move. But you may have remembered Lieutenant General Michael Flynn was, fortunately for him, the Department of Justice announced recently they were going to drop all charges against him because they had cooked up all the charges against him and there was no basis for them, so they were going to dismiss them. So former President Obama, in a call to supporters, had said something along the lines of, this is unprecedented, unheard of, this is terrible. And it is absurd. And then supposedly Obama's comments were released, kind of leaked. And I think they were actually put out there on purpose to make Obama supporters realize, how serious this was. But what Sidney Powell did, and you can read this on our website, americacanwetalk.org. On the homepage, under shows, drop down list of links, you can read this letter that Sidney Powell publicly wrote to President Obama. Very funny. She said, "You expressed great concern. There's no precedent that anybody can find for someone who's been charged with perjury just getting off scot-free. That's the kind of stuff where you begin to get worried that basic, not just institutional norms, but basic understanding of rule of law is at risk." That's what Obama had the audacity to say. So Sidney Powell writes, "Here is some help. If truth and precedent represent your true concern," she says, "first, General Flynn wasn't charged with perjury, which requires a material false statement made under oath with intent to deceive. A perjury prosecution would have been appropriate and the rule of law applied if the Justice Department had prosecuted your former FBI director, Andrew McCabe." So she's putting it right back at President Obama. FBI, if you had gone ahead and prosecuted former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe for his multiple lies under oath in an investigation of a leak only he knew he caused. She goes on, she makes numerous other really, really good points. "It would seem your wingman, Eric Holder, is missing a step these days at Covington and Burling. Indelibly marked in his memory, and one might think yours, should be his motion to dismiss the multi-count jury verdict of guilty and the entire case against former U.S. Senator Ted Stevens. Within weeks of Holder becoming Attorney General, he moved to dismiss the Stevens prosecution in the interest of justice for the same reasons the Justice Department did against General Flynn. Egregious misconduct by prosecutors who hid exculpatory evidence and concocted purported crimes." Great letter, I won't read it all. One of their quick last things in this first 5 today relating to the Flynn case. There's actually more and more talk about whether or not the judge in the case, Judge Emmett Sullivan, who has, we talked about last week, he's appointed another former judge to essentially step in and make an argument in this case when the pending motion is the Department of Justice moving to dismiss the case, saying we shouldn't have brought it, there's nothing to it, we were wrong, please drop charges. And the judge, part of the clearly get Obama, deep state, get this man however you can, Judge Emmett Sullivan, was not going to go along with the only right answer any judge in his shoes should ever make, which is to grant the motion of the Department of Justice to drop the charges. So we have Sullivan bringing somebody on, but actually great legal arguments being made all over the place. One being that this is really unconstitutional at its core because Article 2, the executive branch, doesn't do the job of Article 3, the courts. The courts is the judge, that's his job. Article 3 of the Constitution, he's the judge over this case. He doesn't have authority to step into the executive branch, Article 2, and say, hey, by the way, all you executive branch people, I want to have one of you come over here and make this argument in front of me in the courts. It's an unconstitutional order to start with. Last thing, closing out the first 5, there is actually also a pending case, a case recently ruled upon by the Supreme Court, making very clear, again, that Judge Sullivan had no right to do this. The relevant case, 9-0 decision out of the Supreme Court, relevant case, I'll just say U.S. versus Smith. I'm not sure how to pronounce the first word. The Supreme Court reversed a Ninth Court ruling striking down a criminal statute involving immigration It was overturned because instead of adjudicating the issues raised by the parties, which is what the job of the court is, the Ninth Circuit panel invited groups to brief them about a defense the defendant had never raised. Again, there's Article 2, Article 3. You stay, as they say, stay in your own lane. I don't know. There's actually argument that the Department of Justice could seek a writ of mandamus against Judge Emmett Sullivan, tell him you have got to drop this foolishness of trying to litigate against Lieutenant General Michael Flynn in this case. But in any case, I think this is, if my biggest lesson that all of us should draw from this drama of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn's case being in front of Judge Sullivan is this: the depth of determination on the American left to destroy President Trump, to destroy Lieutenant General Michael Flynn as a vehicle to destroy President Trump, knows no bounds. And that, my friends, is today's First Five.